Hi there, this is James from Rimo3, and in this video I'm going to give you a guided tour of the Rimo3 platform. So we are starting in Basecamp, and to have a tour of Basecamp you can check out my other video on this sort of basic guide to Basecamp. But what I want to do is jump into the main Rimo3 platform, and I will start in the discovery dashboard. So on here is basically our view of all of the applications you have imported into your Rimo3 environment. So those could be apps you've imported from SCCM, for example, or that you've imported manually from other repositories or from our patch catalog. So on this screen, there's a number of things to be clear. So we've got some pagination to help you navigate. So you could expand this to see all of your applications. So you could basically scroll through the list. We have the source of the application. So it could be through patch catalog, could be an existing application that we have modernized. So on and so forth. So you've got the different sources of applications in the first column. You've got the type of application, so whether it's an MSI, whether it's a FlexUp1, MSIX, or some other custom package here. Then you've got the name of the application to be the display name, the version of the application, and then the various steps as we take it through what we call the onboarding pipeline. So when we say we have onboarded an application successfully, that means we have successfully imported it, we have successfully discovered it, and we have successfully performed a baseline smoke test. So the import of the application is typically importing the metadata of the application, maybe copying the source files in certain instances to the storage account stored in your Azure subscription. And of course, then as part of that pipeline, we also do an anti-malware scan. So as long as everything is good, the import successfully passes, then the discovery and the baseline both require a provisioning of a virtual machine that is provisioned with the image you specify, and then the application is installed for the discovery, and then we scan the OS to understand what's being captured. So to understand that detail, head over to my video on installing your first app. And then the baseline smoke test is doing the same as discovery, except this time we launch the shortcuts that we discovered in the discovery step. And I'll just show you those in a second. But you may have picked up on me provisioning a VM with an image. So that is defined in the Manage Environments section. So this is done typically when you first deploy the Rimo3 environment, or it's first deployed. So if I click on this button, it takes us to the Manage Environment screen. So this is where we define the operating system or the image that's used for when provisioning virtual machines. So this could be a Azure Marketplace gallery image that we've got here, or it could be a custom build that you've attached via your Azure Compute gallery. So we support custom images and vanilla gallery images. So be careful, because if you do have a lot of applications, when you do change target OS, for example, it will go ahead and automate the retesting of all of the applications that have been onboarded into your Rimo3 environment. So use these with care, because when you do it, it triggers the automation. Let me just head back. So on here we also have a few different filters, so we can see just the imported application. Then we have a bunch of sub filters in here, so we can see applications that have only been imported and are ready to move to the next phase. We have similar for discovery, so we could see just failures, so why these applications failed discovery, and then any that have just been sort of discovered and are waiting to move to the next step, and then baseline as well, so which applications have failed the baseline or candidates that are awaiting further progression. And you may think, okay, well, I need to manually progress the apps through these stages. Well, that's not the case. But what you are able to do, and let me just give an example through the add new packages process. For example, if I wanted to import my apps from SCCM, maybe I don't want to automatically have all of those apps go through the full pipeline and provision of VMs and tests. Maybe I want to do some rationalization first. So perhaps I just want to import the metadata first and then progress sections or waves of applications through the process. Or maybe I want to discover everything first to understand, do the install still function for these applications, and then I could decide to do some rationalization. But really, that's what I mean. So you don't have to manually push applications through these pipeline stages. You could set it to all automatic and let everything run through. So that's really why I was showing those apps that could be stuck or waiting at various stages. In addition, if you're interested in modernizing your application, so we support 3 main formats for modern containerized apps, so Microsoft MSIX, VMware App Volumes, and Liquidware Flex App 1. And on this screen, we can see applications that I've previously imported. Of those, I have done some modernization to those apps. So from here, I can see a filtered list of those apps. So I can just see my MSIXs, for example, and what this does then, it transports me over to the modernization dashboard to be able to drill into this a little bit further. So just on this modernization dashboards, if I can get my words out whilst we're here, so we can then see a list that we can filter. So for example, applications that were successfully converted, or applications that were fully modernized. So what we mean by this is they were able to convert successfully, but then also they passed a smoke test post conversion, so successfully tested in their newly modernized state. And we've got the same for both App Volumes and Flex App 1. Some other dashboards that we have the Windows Readiness dashboard. So what this is doing is taking those apps that you have successfully onboarded with this operating system and then doing a further smoke test against what we would call your target operating system. So for example, Windows 10 to Windows 11 in this instance. So here we can see all of the results of the applications being smoke tested against this operating system. And we can see some bar charts at the top to help us indicate the overall success. And then we also have some boxes here which allow us also to filter. So if we just wanted to look at the failed, we could click on the failed, and then we could have a look in here at the failed applications. And I'll jump back to that in a second. I just want to show you this other dashboard, which is mainly focused on Azure Virtual Desktop testing. So for this, we do 2 tests for Azure Virtual Desktop. We take typically a multi-session image, and then we'll do a single session test of that application, and then we'll also do a multi-session test. So single session typically for your personal desktop scenarios, and then multi-session is to validate it against a multi-user environment. So the way we do that is we have 3 users concurrently trying to launch the application at once to understand how well it scales for a multi-user environment. And again, we can filter on these results to understand the different success rates. So those are our main dashboards, and let's just look at some of these failures and what sort of information we provide as part of that experience. So let me just take one of these randomly. I'm not sure why this application failed. It could be a very straightforward reason, but what we have here is our sequence screen, and on here we've got a few things. We've got the console output, which is the sort of full verbose output of all of the stages that we run through, all the way from provisioning the virtual machine to installing the package to then running through the various smoke tests based on the number of shortcuts for each of the applications. We also have some different tabs. So we've got a video tab, a output tab, which is actually a screenshot tab, and then some performance tab. So for example, if I was to look at this particular shortcut and the smoke test associated with this, I could click on the video and it would give me the video of this test. And again, same for the output, you would have screenshots and then some performance that was captured during that smoke test. So then when you go into a failure one, you can start to find out why it failed or why we reported it a fail. So in this instance, we can see a failure, and then basically we were thrown this dialog box into as to why this test was deemed a failure. So therefore, when it's legitimate failures, you're able to look at these videos to understand why it failed. And then we also provide some information in the console output and capture various screenshots as well. So that's the sequences, and then on the sequences page itself, we can see all of the sequences to enable you to search them to look for specific sequences as well. Okay. Also, from an importing package perspective, I alluded to this. So from here, you can manually import or import from SCCM. We can also jump to Patch Catalog, which is our third-party app catalog, where you can search for applications or browse through the catalog to be able to import applications. So for example, if I selected on Adobe Reader, I could select my workspace. If I only have access to one workspace, then that will be the only one available. But I can select it here, select my pipeline action, and then select the onboard application. If I wanted to subscribe, so what that does, it signs me up to this application. So every time a new version of this app is released in the catalog, it will automatically be imported into my Rimo3 environment. And what we do is we take it through the various stages of testing, and then we'll export it to your Intune environment, ready for patching when you are ready. A couple of things from here. We've got different view modes, so grid view or list view. We've also got the waffle menu here, so we can jump back to any other areas. So for example, we can jump back to the discovery dashboards, and we can also jump all the way back to Basecamp if we want to as well. We've also got the Wayfinder report. So Wayfinder is a dynamic dashboard report that is able to provide you with a snapshot of your Rimo3 environment, and you can select multiple scenarios. So for example, let me just select all of these scenarios and create the report. You can customize it with your own title. You can use a logo if you want to, and when you click on create report, what it's going to do is going to dynamically create this report. So you can see we've got our title here, we've got our contents, and then we can scroll through, give it a couple of seconds for the visualizations to populate, so we can see our onboarding summary, the different results of the onboarding. We've also got an ROI section, and to be able to understand how automation is saving you money, and then Windows readiness view, AVD readiness view, how you're progressing with your Intune migration, Windows 365 readiness dashboard, and then we've got some modernization results as well. And then finally, we've got a full detailed breakdown of your state by each application. We can see the various different results across each of the scenarios, and we can export that to a PDF if we want to as well. Okay, so those are the main functions. We've also got this extend menu here. So for recovery, that's to enable you to recover deleted applications. So For example, if we're in the overview dashboard and we delete an application, that only soft deletes it, so it removes it from here. But then if I go to the recovery view, I can see it here, and I can recover it. And if I go back to my overview dashboard, I can see it's back in the list. We also have status of the environment, so to make sure the gateway is online and our task runners are okay. And if you want to add a custom image, we can do that here by clicking on the plus, providing a link to the Azure Resource ID. And then we've got our integrations page, which is our other main one, which enables you to connect to Intune, connect to SCCM, connect to Nerdio, and also connect to WPM if you are using that. I'll provide some more detail in some other videos for those. You can create a support request, and we can jump to the knowledge base and jump to release notes as well. There's also tags, so we have the ability for you to create multiple tags, and therefore you can assign tags to applications. So for example, if you wanted to organize your applications with certain tags, you can do that. And we also have some other settings as well for more detailed settings, so enable you to tweak your environment. So I'll probably do another video on that. It's a little bit more advanced. And you can also set up notifications as well for that patch catalog subscription scenario. So when you have a new version of an application imported into your Rimo3 environment, you will get a Teams notification. Okay, so that was a very quick whistle-stop tour of the Rimo3 platform. Again, as I said, I'll do some more deeper dives in some other videos, but that's enough for now. So thank you for watching. Goodbye.